It was well past midnight when Daniel heard the frantic pounding at his front door. Lily, his little girl, had finally drifted off after another bedtime story, her soft breaths filling the room as he quietly folded laundry. Then came the knock sergeant, sharp, almost desperate. At first, he froze. Nobody came to his house by accident. His home sat on the outskirts of town, surrounded by empty fields, far from any road. A mistake. Maybe, but something in the rhythm of those knocks made his stomach twist, heart racing. Daniel grabbed a flashlight and crept to the door. He swung it open and froze. Standing there was a young woman, her face bruised and swollen, her eyes red and glassy from crying. In her hand, she clutched a thin boy who looked no older than Lily. The woman's lips trembled as she whispered, "Please, please help us." Daniel's mind screamed caution, but something raw and urgent in her voice broke through every warning. His instincts, his heart, everything told him to act. "Come in," he said, almost without thinking, stepping aside. And just like that, strangers crossed the threshold of his quiet home, carrying secrets and fear Daniel wasn't ready for but couldn't ignore. Her name was Amelia, and the boy was Ethan. Daniel couldn't help but notice the way Ethan clutched his mother's hand as if it were a lifeline, how his small body seemed to act as a shield, standing protectively in front of her. Over steaming mugs of tea, Amelia's story came out in broken, halting fragments. Her husband had died suddenly a year ago, leaving her alone. But instead of support, she and Ethan were cast aside by his wealthy family. They sneered at her, blamed her for everything, and eventually forced her out of their grand estate with nothing but a small suitcase and a few meager possessions. She'd tried to survive, taking whatever work she could find, scraping by. But when she confronted one of her in-laws who continued to harass her, he retaliated with brutal violence. That was how she ended up bruised, exhausted, and desperate. Standing on Daniel's doorstep with nowhere else to go, Daniel listened, stunned, his chest tight. He understood loss. He was raising Lily alone after losing his wife in a car accident. Yet hearing Amelia's voice break, watching her fight to stay strong for her son, stirred something deeper, mix of empathy, sorrow, and protective instinct. "You're safe here," Daniel said firmly, meeting her eyes. "Both of you. I don't have much, but what I do have, you can share." Amelia's eyes shimmered with tears, and for the first time in weeks, a fragile glimmer of hope flickered. Maybe, just maybe, they could find safety and a chance to breathe within these walls. For a brief moment, Amelia let herself believe that kindness still existed in the world. Two families, one roof, but the days that followed were far from easy. Daniel's small house, barely enough for him and Lily, now had to stretch for two more. Money was tight. He worked long hours at the garage, grease-stained hands and aching back, all while trying to be present for Lily. At first, Ethan kept his distance, quiet and watchful, clinging to his mother like a shadow. But Lily, with her bright eyes and endless curiosity, refused to give up. She shared her toys, tugged him outside to explore, and slowly, laughter began to echo through the small rooms that had been so silent before. Amelia insisted on pulling her weight. She cooked, cleaned, and even found part-time work at a local cafe. Yet Daniel couldn't ignore the exhaustion etched into her face, the invisible burdens she carried silently. Some nights, he heard her soft sobs after she thought everyone was asleep. The household faced challenge after challenge. Bills piled up, groceries ran low, and Daniel sometimes skipped meals so the children wouldn't go hungry. Outside their walls, whispers followed them: small-town judgment, suspicion, and the kind of cold stares that reminded them that safety didn't always extend beyond the doorstep. Even with their bond growing stronger, the weight of survival pressed on them, threatening to crack the fragile sense of peace they'd fought so hard to build. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors, wondering why a single dad was suddenly housing a battered widow and her child. But inside the house, there were deeper struggles no one could see. Ethan carried a secret pain he never spoke of. His father's family haunted his dreams, and at night he would wake screaming, calling out for the dad he'd lost. One evening, Daniel found him sitting alone on the porch, staring at the dark horizon. "Do you miss him?" Daniel asked gently. Ethan nodded, his small shoulders trembling. "Grandpa said, 'We're nothing without Dad,'" he whispered. "He said, 'Mom and I don't belong, but I don't care. I just want Mom to be okay.'" Daniel's chest tightened. He knelt beside the boy, resting a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Listen to me," he said firmly but softly. "You and your mum belong. You belong here. Don't ever forget that." For the first time, Ethan looked up at him, eyes shining through tears, and whispered, "Thanks, Dad." In that moment, Daniel realized he wasn't replacing anyone, yet somehow they had become a family. Months passed, and their bond deepened. Amelia laughed more freely. Ethan's smiles came easier, and Lily finally had a brother-like figure to play with. But then the unexpected happened. One bright afternoon, a sleek black car rolled up outside their modest house. A man in a sharp suit stepped out, carrying papers, and introduced himself as a lawyer. "I've been searching for Amelia and Ethan," he said. "Ethan's grandfather passed away. According to the will, Ethan is the sole heir to the family fortune, billions of dollars." The room went silent. Amelia's hands shook. She had given up on her late husband's family, never imagining they would leave anything to Ethan after casting them out. Daniel's eyes fell on the boy who had become like a son to him, a future billionaire, a world away from the life they had struggled to build. The lawyer urged them to return to the estate, promising comfort, luxury, and safety. But Amelia hesitated, memories of cruelty and disdain flashing vividly. Could she really take Ethan back into that world that had once abandoned them? That night, she sat with Daniel at the kitchen table, the dim light casting shadows across her face. "I don't care about the money," she said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. "I just want him to grow up somewhere he's loved, somewhere he belongs." She whispered softly, her eyes glistening with tears. "What matters is that Ethan is happy, safe, loved, and we found that here with you." Daniel swallowed hard. The future was uncertain, but one truth had settled deep in his chest. His life had changed the moment Amelia and Ethan appeared at his doorstep, bruised, scared, and in need. That night, the small house felt fuller than ever with hope, with warmth, with the kind of family that chose each other in the end. Amelia accepted the inheritance not for herself, but for Ethan's future. She refused to return to the mansion of bitter memories, where whispers of cruelty lingered in every corner. Instead, she invested in a new home right where they were, making sure Daniel and Lily would always be part of their family. Together, they turned struggle into strength. Daniel no longer bore life's burdens alone. Amelia no longer trembled in fear. And Ethan learned a truth far greater than money. True wealth wasn't measured in billions or estates, but in love, safety, and the feeling of finally belonging in that little house on the edge of town. Laughter rang out once more, echoing through the rooms and through their hearts. A home, a family, and a reminder that even in the darkest nights, kindness and love could always find a way in.